You ready to do this, Steve?
Let's do it, Spence. Punch it, Chewie.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot, as always, is Steve Madura.
Hey, all. How are we tonight?
We're two best friends that, despite being fathers and husbands, we just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 47. We release every Thursday morning on iTunes, Google Music, and Stitcher. And if you are new to the podcast and you're listening for your first time, congratulations, welcome. We are happy you're here. But you're probably also thinking, who is this man with the dulcet tones that sounds like he's a natural baritone? Well, that's not exactly how I always sound. I just have a very, very strong head cold at the moment. So, Steve, I'm going to do something here live as we're recording this.
Oh.
I'm going to put us on a clock. These two green pills right here, are NyQuil. And I'm going to take them right now. And as the podcast progresses, the longer it goes, the chance that I may just fall asleep or get slap-happy crazy increases. So here we go.
All right. Illicit drugs being taken. Kids, do not do this at home. And you're putting it down with
Illicit?
a Propel. A Propel, really?
Yeah.
You're combining...
Because I need those electrolytes, baby.
You know not to combine alcohol and drugs? Are you crazy? It's like Pop Rocks and soda, man. Your stomach's going to explode.
That's an old wives' tale and something your mom told you a lot.
Happened twice to me. Twice.
It did not. It was 3 times. Get it correct. So, Steve, how are you? What is going on? Pardon my crap and junk that's infested my nasal cavities.
Yeah, no, it's I'm good. I'm doing well. I do not have a head cold, but my throat is a little sore. I think I've been doing a lot of running as of late. So every morning I get up and I've been running, trying to do it every morning.
Is that a common problem, like a runner's sore throat? Like you stretched it because you didn't properly warm up?
La 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 la. I'm ready for my run. No, I think it's just, and I wouldn't classify myself as a runner by any stretch of the imagination. But no, it was cold this morning. It's gotten a little cold out here in Chicago, and so I went running this morning, and it was probably 54 degrees, 50 some odd degrees. So I think that might have a little to do with it. It's funny too because, you know, I've tried to get some of my kids involved and I wake up at like 5:50 and try to get them roused and whatnot. And suddenly they've all kind of gotten on the bandwagon, unfortunately. So they're like, I want, and my little 4-year-old's like, Daddy, I want to come. So this morning she is like crying in tears in our garage, like, I want to come. And I'm like, well, you can't run because you have midget-like legs, and you surely can't ride your bike because you can't keep up. And Carrie's like, take the running stroller. I'm like, oh, gosh. So I take the running stroller down.
Let me ask you a question. When you run with the kids, do you feel like you're Rocky Balboa and Rocky 2 and like all the neighborhood kids are running after him?
I just run up people's stairs and then like randomly like up on their patio, and I'm just jumping around like, excuse me, can you hand me my paper and get off my property?
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, no, my kids usually ride their bike. Carter runs with me, but yeah. But anyway, so I had to take the running stroller today, but the tires were flat, so I had to pump them up because it's been cold, and then I had to and it needs an alignment, so the thing keeps like veering to the left. So I'm trying to run while it's like veering into like telephone poles and like fire hydrants and stuff, and Lila's being almost thrown from the carriage.
Are you sure it's that, or are you sure it's not your one leg that's shorter than the other that's causing you to veer that way?
They call me Gimpy for a reason, and it wasn't that. Anyway, so we did that. So that's why I'm a little hoarse today, So, but other than that, things are good. Oh, just to follow up. So last week we talked about that I made a Thanksgiving dinner for my family just because it was like Saturday night, and I'm like, what the hey? So this Sunday, a little Martha moment, not as in depth, and I'm not going to give you recipes.
Martha.
I made fondue.
What?
Yeah, I made a fondue. I like looked at this cheese fondue tomato recipe and got a bunch of like bread and different like fruits and vegetables and stuff. And there's something about fondue. It's like an experience when you eat it, right? Everybody's talking and they're dipping and they're talking and they're dipping, and maybe they do it the opposite way. They dip and then they talk. Who knows what? But anyway, it's almost like a hibachi grill. Like there's more of like an experience than just eating at your own plate. I don't know what it is, but
Okay, so in a week and 2 days, 9 days from now, when I'm at your house, don't make me fondue. We're okay. I'm just saying. I'm good with like a ham sandwich.
Not a fondue
I'm not a
fan,
fancy person, Steve.
It's
No,
not
you don't gotta go
fancy.
fancy for me. Oh no, I got all these cheeses and rotel that I put in this thing. I did some sprigs of cinnamon and I don't know. I'm just saying.
Nutmeg.
Just a piece of meat, a little bit of bread, and some Miracle Whip, and I'm good.
I know. High class for you is what? Tater tot casserole, but when the tater tots are all in concentric rows.
Yeah, soldiers need to stand in a line. That's right.
It's like the
Get in with the program.
like the Tau soldiers or the whatever. So
by the way, are we still good to hang out with you 9 days from now?
Oh, you're coming? Seriously? I thought that was a joke this whole time. Oh,
No, man, I'm on my way. I got tickets and everything.
we're gonna be out of town. No, yeah, we're good. We're good. We actually, So the 27th, right? We're gonna be downtown Chicago.
You're gonna be out of town. Guess what? Your bed is not going to be out of town.
We'll make sure to arm the security system. So things are good, and life is busy. It's crazy busy right now. I'm actually selling a quarry mine out in Pennsylvania. I told you I went and visited a while back. It's a bluestone mine out in Pennsylvania, and it has gas rights, and it's a big deal. I'm taking some time out of my day, so.
So you've got gas, and it's kind of a big deal. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
You're
hearing.
reading between the lines. It's funny. My kids, anytime we're in the car and we pass, we pass cars or whatnot, and they always see like a tanker truck. They're like, "Dad, what kind of truck is that?" I'm like, "It's a fuel truck, I think. I don't know." They're like, "We just passed gas." I'm like, "It was a milk truck. Forget it."
Right. Just make them all milk trucks from here on out.
Of course, then they're like, "You're lactose intolerant, so eventually we're gonna pass gas." I'm like, "Shut your mouths."
That's
So
too
anyway,
funny.
so aside from the Barry White voice, how are you doing?
Well, I've got a bit of a story for you.
Do tell.
I've intentionally kept you in the dark about this because I wanted to tell you about this on the podcast because it was a amazing, awesome, yet not awesome time all together.
Really?
And so
I'm intrigued.
Okay, so what happened was the Cubs
Did you
obviously...
finally audition for the voice?
Yes, with this voice. I was like, "Baby, let's get together. Ooh, yeah, baby, let's get together." They're like, "What song is that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just made that crap up." Put me on. Come on, Christina, hit that button.
Hit that button.
The Cubs won the NLDS in 5 games, right? And so they advanced to the National League Conference Series, a rematch against the Dodgers.
Yep.
And Game 1 was going to be Saturday night, obviously in Los Angeles. And so on Friday morning, like, 'cause the Game 5 was Thursday night. Friday morning,
Are you freaking kidding me?
and just wait, man, just wait. I'm talking to my boss, and I was like, "Man, I want to go down so bad and catch this game." And I start looking at StubHub, and I can get a ticket for like a little under $100. Now, it's not a great ticket, but it's a ticket to NLCS Game 1. And my boss is like, "Really? Yeah, we should look at that. We should do this." I was like, "Really? You want to go?" And he's like, "Yeah." Now, here's the thing. We had a big email migration to do that night and over the weekend. So, of course, now that the idea is he's thinking about it, I'm really starting to think about it. And I'm like, okay, can we accomplish our work goal first? Because that has to come first. And he's like, "Well, you can do that, and then I can do this, and then we'll leave Rick, the new guy, the new guy, to do all like the heavy lifting of the actual manual stuff, and then we'll just kind of like check in with him on phones and whatnot over the course of the weekend." And so we get the plan in place. And I said, "Okay, now I have to call my wife I got to get the go ahead. So like I called my wife. Now this is like all on the clock. Like we're supposed to be working, but we spent like 3 hours trying to prep for this thing, like looking at tickets and talking to our spouses. And I call Brita. And I say, hey, Chuck's serious about going down to the game tomorrow night in LA. And we're talking about driving down. I was like, I only had this one thing going on this weekend. You had this one thing, but we were getting a babysitter. Can you not go as long? Can I make this happen? She's like, well, I got to check with the babysitter. I got to, let me see. I said, well, how long will it take? Because I need to get tickets before prices go up. And she says, just buy the tickets. I'm like, now don't tell me to buy the tickets if you're not serious. And she's like, just buy the tickets. I'm like, okay, love you. Got to go. Bye. Click. And then I ran upstairs and we're getting online. And then my boss says, listen, I know you're trying not to spend a ton of money. I'll buy tickets to game 1. You buy tickets to game 2 on Sunday night. We'll stay for both nights, and then we'll drive all through the night back home. And we'll get back to work basically like Monday morning and go straight to work. So that's the plan. And we're going to take his Tesla so we don't have to pay for gas. And so he buys tickets. I buy tickets. My tickets are like in the outfield. It's like $350 for the 2 tickets. He buys $600 a piece tickets. He puts us literally 3 rows behind the Cubs dugout.
What? What?
And then, so as we're driving down to this thing, okay, by the way, we drive the Tesla. Let me tell you, you drive for 2 hours, you stop, you charge for half an hour. Drive for 2 hours, stop another supercharger. Charge for half an hour, drive 2 hours. Like, that's the thing. So, like, it takes you a while to get there. It's not like, hey, from here to Vegas, it's 6 hours. No, from here to Vegas, it's more like 8 hours with charging. So, we get to Vegas where we're going to stop for the night. And he's like, yeah, I was like, let's just, like, get a crappy Motel 6 and we'll split the cost. Let's just keep it cheap. And he goes, actually, I already got us a place. He's like, we're staying at the Venetian. And so, he got this, like, really nice room at the Venetian for us to split, and basically says, listen, he's like, I want to make this weekend awesome for you. I want you to know how much I appreciate all that you do. He's like, so it's like, I'm trying to treat you a little special. So like, we get in to the Venetian at like 1 a.m. And then of course we hit the poker table and I win some money and play poker till like 4 a.m. and then go back to the room and we sleep. And then we get up the next morning and we drive the rest of the way to LA, and this is where it gets like a little weird, right? So Saturday morning, he wakes up and he gets sick. Like, we think it's food poisoning because he's vomiting a whole bunch, and then he starts running from the other end, and he's sick. It's like every time we'd stop, like he's like, oh, I gotta go find a bathroom. And sometimes he made it, sometimes he didn't. And you know me, I'm a sympathetic vomiter, so I was like, immediately putting in my earbuds and like cranking up my audiobook and just like rocking back and forth and covering my ears.
So wait, when you say he didn't make it, what do you mean? Like he's just like,
so like there's
not
like
in the Tesla.
No. He's not in the Tesla, but like there's a big storm grate right next to where the supercharger is, and he's just vomiting into the storm grate.
Oh,
like just it's going down into the storm drain, and he's just
people are like, drinking that. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, not exactly. So he's determined to go to game 1 still because he's sick. So we go to game 1 and like, he's not feeling great, but he says he's starting to feel better. He's like, I'm getting real hungry though. And I was like, well, just take it easy. He goes up to get food. He comes back with nachos with cheese and jalapenos and a Dodger dog. And I'm like, a hot dog and nachos? That's coming back up. And of course it did. But we sat in the game. We were so close. We could see all the action. I mean, we sat in with an area with like a whole bunch of Cub fans that were there, and the guy next to me across the aisle, him and his like girlfriend that were talking to me, they're Cubs fans, but he was like starting to get belligerent, like in the like 3rd, 4th inning. I was like, oh, he's gonna get tossed before the end of the game. And of course, what do you know? He gets a little inebriated. He starts yelling at fans. He's pointing to the championship patch on his hat, and he's taunting people around him. And he gets kicked out. And, it was just like, I was like, I knew that was happening. Anyway, we had a ton of fun at the game. The Cubs did lose that game.
Well, wait. When you say we had a ton of fun, it sounds like you had a ton of fun. Your boss was like 50-50.
Okay, I had a ton of fun. I had a ton of fun.
You're like, hey, boss, you slap on the back. He's like,
yeah, he's like, I gotta go find He's like, I gotta go find a bathroom. I'm like, just pick a Dodger fan. You'll be fine. Now here's the thing. Like, so we're there. He's sick. The game ends. It takes like an hour and a half to get out of Dodger Stadium because traffic is just crazy. Because Dodger Stadium's kind of on the north side of LA, and it's kind of up on a hill.
Yeah.
So it just takes forever. Like if you're at the top of the hill parked, it takes forever to get all the way down and get out. And so we're doing that. We go back to our hotel room, and like, let me just say, like, I love Southern California. Like, I love LA. Like, I love that whole area. I lived down in that area for 2 years. It's like, it just, every time I go back, like, there's a part of me that feels like I'm home again.
Yep.
Even though I only lived there for 2 years. So I'm just loving the weather down there. It's like really nice and warm. Like back here, it was in like the high 40s, and it was like 87 degrees at game time on Saturday. It was beautiful. And then the
nice
sun got down
breeze.
A little bit, and then there was a breeze. Yeah, it was great. So we wake up Sunday morning, and my boss is still sick, like really sick. And I just said, look, Chuck, that's my boss. I said, let's just go home. I know I bought these tickets. I'll try to put them on StubHub and see if I can sell them. But you're sick. I don't want to make you stay a whole nother day here sick, go to a game sick again, and then drive all through the night to show up like right in time for work to start and then go straight to work with no rest. And so he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I wanted to make it a good weekend. I was like, no, trust me, I'm having lots of fun. This has been great. This was a spur of the moment. I got to see game 1 of the NLCS in Dodger Stadium and root on my Cubbies. I said, that's awesome. And so he's like, okay. So I put my tickets up on StubHub, and we kind of, pack up everything and we start driving. And when we get to Vegas, he's not feeling really good. So we end up taking a couple-hour break there. We took a lot longer than we would have normally.
Right.
But as we're in Vegas, like I'm still watching. And finally I decided, you know what? At some point I was like, if these tickets don't sell, because I'm trying to keep them priced right, but a guy like had 2 tickets, like 2 rows further behind me, but he kept undercutting the price, trying to sell his tickets. He kept dropping them, and his wouldn't sell. Of course, that just makes it harder for me to sell mine, because mine are now priced like $50 more expensive than his, and I'm only 2 rows closer to the action. So I'm having to drop mine. I realize this may not happen. So I reach out to one of our friends who I know lives in the area. I reach out to Chowfie on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
At that Chowfie. And I message him, and I was like, hey, man, I'm trying to sell these tickets, but if it doesn't happen, do you want them? Do you want to go to the game tonight? Now, remind you, these are $350 tickets. I mean, yes, it's disposable income. Like, I could afford it, but they're not like, it's a
That's
playoff
meaningful,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a playoff game. It's not like I'm giving like someone like $10 tickets. It's a little bit of money. But I was like, hey, if I can't use them and I can't sell them, I want someone to go. And he immediately messages me back. He's like, man, that would be so awesome. He's like, yes, I definitely want them. And I know a couple other people that are out there that live in that area, but I was just talking to him, and he was really jealous, kind of talking back and forth to me about going to game 1. And so I reached out to him first and said, I'll give him the opportunity if he can, because I know he lives in Long Beach. If Chowfie can make it there, great. I would give him the tickets if they don't sell. If not, I would go to the next person down the list that I know in the area.
Wait a minute. Is Chowfie a Dodgers fan, though?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How dare you?
It gets to be about 2 hours before game time. And I was like, that's about the time I need to let Chowfie know. That way he can, he can drive up there. He can fight the traffic.
Yep.
He can get into the game. And I said, send me your email, man. He sent me his email, and I sent him the PDF with the tickets. And I said, just print those out and go, have a fun time. He's like, this is so awesome. My wife and I are going to get to have a date night. We don't usually get to do that. So Chowfie then tweets me a picture. He's, second row in left field at the Dodger Cubs game, just having a good time. And I saw his wife posted a picture on Facebook, and of course he was really grateful, and he messaged me, and I was like, I'm like, that's awesome. I'm glad you had a good time, because really realistic, it was like one of these things where it's like, I can't sell them. I'm gonna lose money anyway. I would rather someone
Absolutely.
I know, a friend, go and have a good time.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I gave him to Chowfie, and then my boss says, hey, let me give you some money because we basically missed the game because of me. And so he gave me like $250. He's like, I know it's not the full price. He's like, but that'll kind of help offset some of the cost. I'm like, you don't have to do that. He's like, no, let me do that. So then he gives me $250. So basically I only ended up, spending about $100 on the tickets in the end. But like he also drove us down there, put us up at the Venetian for a night, bought $600 a piece, $1,200 tickets, 3 rows behind the dugout. He bought us like dinner one night.
Where did you stay when you were in LA?
We actually stayed in a place in Ontario because it has a supercharger
the Inland
there.
Empire, yes.
Yep. So we stayed a little further inland, but he paid for that as well. So it was kind of a crazy weekend. Here's the thing: Jackson has a cold. I wake up Sunday morning. I'm like, man, my throat feels a little rough. And then because of the extra like stop in Vegas, we didn't get back into town till like 3:30 in the morning on Monday morning.
Oh.
And I got like 3 hours of sleep, and then I had to go to work, and this absolute like junk that's inside of me. And so like the truth be told, this is Tuesday night we're recording. We usually record Monday nights. I called Steve a couple hours before we were going to record and was like, hey man, I need to sleep. I can't do this. I've had 3 hours of sleep. I feel horrible. And the only difference between that night and tonight is I've had a little more sleep, but I still feel horrible. But I feel happy that I'm in the Fortress of Nerditude with you, Steve. And I got to let you know that on the spur of a moment, I ran down to LA for the weekend and went to the Cubs-Dodgers game. And it just all kind of came together, and it was one of those things. And let me say one last thing on this, because I feel like I've gone on a little bit. I love Brita. My wife is a fantastic, wonderful person who lets me take these opportunities every now and again when something like this comes up to do something, because she knows it's going to mean something to me that's special. I've never been to an NLCS game. I got to go to the World Series last year, and I got to see another playoff baseball game in NLCS this year. I love her so much, but more than that, I'm just grateful that she really tries to go the extra mile to like make things work out so that I can do these things. And so I just want to say a big thank you to my wife, Brita.
And Chuck.
yes, of course, and Chuck.
There you go. Yes, no, that is awesome. And I was listening to a podcast. It's called Stronger Marriages, and I was listening to it the other night, and it talked about how it had some quote about how we should not be smoothies. We should not be two people just blended up together and just kind of totally homogeneous. We should be a mixed salad. We should keep our individuality, and we should celebrate that individuality in our spouse. And that's awesome that she does that. That is, because that makes you who you are and what you are. And obviously, I'm sure you do the same for her. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you.
Cool story. Let me ask one question. Did Chuck go to work on Monday?
He was, because he was sick and didn't get much sleep. He came in like around 3:00 in the afternoon.
Dang.
So
what a guy.
But you know what though? Like it was one of those things where it was like I could have stayed home. Like I just would have had to burn a PTO day, and I just didn't want to.
Well, and from your boss, like taking you the whole week, and you're like, I'm going to call it in on Monday.
Right, exactly.
That'd be the ultimate D-bag move.
Right. Well, that and like next weekend, not this upcoming, but the following weekend, I'm going to be in Chicago for like 4 or 5 days, and then I need time at Christmas time to go up and spend time with my in-laws. So I just don't want to burn a bunch of time. And like today, honestly, like I should have came home early from work, but we had a big meeting and something I kind of had to be there for.
Yep.
So like I just had to like tough it out, and I've been taking Dayquil Severe to try to knock this thing out as best I can. And let me tell you, it ain't doing it, man.
I was going to say, we're about 24 minutes in, and have you felt a little fade at all? Anything slurred of speech?
Maybe
lazy eye?
Let's just lazy eye. I took a NyQuil and I done got the lazy eye.
You've had it anyway. Cool. Well, all right. Well, good. Well, let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time and get on to Rebel Intelligence. What do you say?
My favorite part of the podcast and yours. Would I like to get to that? Heck yes.
Heck to the yes.
Heck to the yes. I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Steve, Rebel Intelligence, what do you have for us this week?
I wanted to talk about this. Is a little sad. This is it's not an obit, but it's a sad thing. So the house of famed cartoonist and animator Charles Schultz. I'm sorry. Of course, famed for the Peanuts strip. His house actually burned down as part of the wildfires that have been raging in California.
Really?
And now he passed away back in 2000. So obviously, his wife though was able to make it to safety, and she's fine. It's just kind of a sad thing. It's somebody who brought so much joy to so many people, and you think about all these travesties that happen, whether fire, flood, or whatever. They affect people, both that you know and that you don't know. So anyway, his wife Jean, fled to safety. She's fine, but their home in Santa Rosa that they kind of built together, it burned to the ground. So
the house that Snoopy built is no more. Is what you're saying?
That is correct. That is correct. Now, have no fear. Many of the original works that they still had, those are housed in a museum and research center elsewhere. But yeah, kind of a sad thing. So there's, people are affected by these things that go on. By the way, were there any effects of the wildfires down where you were in LA?
I didn't notice that it was that smoky, to be honest. Like I was thinking about that as we drove down.
Yeah.
But I really didn't notice it that much, and maybe that's just because it's more Northern California. Yeah. I think it's like up northern, or like more like in the wine country area where like a lot of vineyards are. And I don't know if it's if it's blowing inland into Nevada more or what, but it wasn't that bad, and I mean it wasn't even all that smoggy down there when we were there over the weekend.
It's going to make for a lot of raisins. No, I remember when we were.
Did you just make a raisins joke with the fires?
You gotta find the grapevine.
Little California raisins. You remember those videos?
Yeah, those things were great. Oh, I love them.
Why did those things ever become popular? Is my question.
Why did the Noid become popular with Domino's? Who knows? Marketing? Advertising dollars?
So.
I remember there was a time we were headed down, my friends and I were headed down to a cruise out of LA, or Long Beach Harbor, to go down to Mexico. And it was during the wildfires that were raging at some point, back in the early 2000s. And we get on the ship, and the entire ship is covered with ashes. It's all over the railings. It's all over everything. It's almost like a snow dusting, but it was of ash. So it was interesting. As you mentioned, seeing some of the effects of the wildfires, it was a very vivid memory of a time long ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
What do you have?
Okay, so do you remember, I think it was the third X-Men movie, they actually showed Gambit, the X-Men that has the ability to kinetically charge up objects and then throw them and they can explode, or
like throwing cards?
Problems. Yeah, like throwing card. Gambit typically uses throwing cards, right? Mm-hmm. That's the only time in any of the X-Men movies he's appeared. And I know a lot of people wanted more because Gambit's was really popular in the X-Men animated cartoons and is really popular in the comic books.
Right.
But for some reason, the movies just never, he just kind of got short shrift, just not there, not represented. Well, apparently they're in the works to do a full-on Gambit movie. And the actor that's trying to get this going, who's going to be in it, is none other than Channing Tatum. And Channing Tatum's been in some good movies, right? He's been in some good movies. I mean, he's a good actor. I just wonder if they're trying to go off the success of the Deadpool movie and try to find a way to have a solo standalone from another character. And anyway, they're talking about making this thing. Apparently they've got they got a director. I think that's going to be signed on, Gore Verbinski, who made the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Mm-hmm. they're gonna, so they're saying that it's slated for a 2018 release, apparently.
Well,
they're getting it ready, but in 2018 they've got other stuff. They've got the New Mutants, the Deadpool 2, and the X-Men Dark Phoenix. That's all happening in 2018. So this is going to be like a kind of like a follow-up to that, I think, in 2019.
Well, I think it is kind of interesting though, because you think about some of the other characters that they've done standalone movies on, and if they're doing Phoenix, and of course they've done Wolverine and whatnot, but that's kind of a pretty mainstay character, I mean, we're getting into some of the obscure, at least from I think most lay people's point of view. We're going to talk about some of that later today, but Black Panther and things like that. I mean, I would think that Gambit is more of a well-known, recognized character than a lot of other movies, standalone movies we're seeing. So,
yeah, I just wonder if it's hard to really convey his mutant ability. I mean, think about Wolverine. His mutant ability is his regeneration, and they obviously show that because he's got the adamantium claws. And it's he can get beat up, and then all of a sudden, whoop, he heals back together. The bullet will pop back out of his skull, and he keeps going beast mode. Professor Xavier can control people's minds. Someone like Storm, you can see clouds and lightning and da-da-da-da-da. But I just think it would be underwhelming to be hey, I'm just going to pick up this shoe and I'm going to throw it at you and then it's going to explode.
Wingtip, bam!
I mean, right? I mean, just because he has the ability to kinetic, charge up anything with kinetic energy and then he can throw it and he's really accurate, but he throws it it can explode or, cause an impact or whatever. And it's just how are they going to do that? It's so you have to be all CG, show it glowing a little white or something, and he throws it, and it's just. So I think maybe in the past, approaching it's been kind of hard. It's not as easy to translate it into a visual medium on film. Maybe either that or they just can't get a good screenwriter and figure out a way to make it. But if you're a Cajun and you love Cajun stuff. The natural-born son of the Cajun Louisiana, New Orleans, is going to be coming to the big screen sometime soon.
Yeah, man.
And I think that NyQuil is starting to set in because I'm confusing stuff. Keep going, Steve. What you got?
Yeah. So appreciate you bringing that up. That was very interesting. So one thing I wanted to talk about was the new film that will follow a young Han Solo. We've talked about it before, and it has it previously went by Red Cup. I believe that was kind of the working title.
Red Cup. Yeah.
So Ron Howard has embraced kind of social media and has been very prolific, I guess, in the filming of this most recent Star Wars film, and has posted a lot of stuff on Instagram and a lot of Twitter stuff, and just kind of gotten a lot of people kind of behind the curtain and able to see kind of what's going on the set. And so he just released, as of I think yesterday, no, actually it was today, he released the name of the movie, and he had a little help from a Wookiee that handed him a card. The name is short. It's sweet. It says it all. The name is Solo, a Star Wars story. So anyway, so it's been kind of a cool thing. I don't know if you've followed kind of some of the photos that he's shown and some of the little reveals he's done along the way.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think that's kind of a letdown for the name because I feel like they've been calling it, the Untitled Han Solo thing or, Red Cup or whatever, for so long and kind of teasing what the name's going to be to then just call it Solo, a Star Wars story, It just seems like it's too little. It's not, I don't know. It just seems like it should have been.
Do you realize that
something better?
The studio got paid I think it was $50 or $75 million from the Solo Cup company to be able to retain that name. There's going to be some cross marketing.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding. Can you imagine though?
Yes, this is the Han Solo shot first. little shot glass.
They would just plant little red cups all over the set, on scene. Some stormtroopers walking by with a little Solo cup.
That is funny. Okay, Steve. I want to talk about a movie that I have no clue why they're making a sequel to. but apparently it's getting closer to happening. Do you remember a little well-known movie from the late 80s that starred Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder? It was called Beetlejuice.
Alec Baldwin as well, and
Gina
Catherine
Davis.
O'Hara and Gina Davis. There were some big stars.
So apparently Deadline's reporting that Mike Vukodinovich has been tapped to write a new screenplay for the long-discussed and talked about Beetlejuice sequel. And apparently they're in negotiations with Tim Burton and Michael Keaton, and Tim Burton and Michael Keaton are excited on the thought of making a sequel. Why is my question. I mean, why? That movie's a great movie. It's weird, it's quirky, it's dark, it's funny. Why, after this many years, do you go back to that well?
I think it's just another case of, unimagination. I don't know. There's not a lot of new stuff, I think, coming out of Hollywood these days. So I think it's just rehashing something that worked in the past. But it is odd. I mean, that is a very old movie. That has been around, 30 years, probably 25 years, something like that. So,
I mean,
yeah, I don't know. Now, you said that Burton and Michael Keaton have both kind of given a nod that they'd want to be involved.
Right. Yep. Right.
It's funny because my son is actually playing the whatever the song is from that, like the Congo song. What is it called? Like shake, 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 Sonora, shake your body,
shake your body, right?
Work,
shake,
work,
shake,
yeah.
shake, yeah.
And so I was like, oh yeah, I know that song. And I looked it up on YouTube, and it was that. And if you remember that scene from the movie, they're all like dancing around the table,
Yeah.
And then they all sit down, and their like shrimp cocktails become hands, and they reach out and grab their faces and like throw them back. Carter was like, that was weird. I was like, yeah, it was.
Yeah, like that whole movie is weird.
It is, but it's cool. It's got that Tim Burton kind of quirky vibe,
and Michael Keaton is excellent in that movie.
He is. That was good stuff. So we'll have to see what kind of. I'd watch it. I'd see it just for the heck of it. If Keaton was in it and Burton did it, I would watch it.
Yeah, probably. Or at least rent it, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd go to the theater to see it, but anyway. I have one other thing. If you don't have anything else.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, so you remember at the end of the Age of Ultron, Hulk gets in one of those Quinjets that he steals, and like he's kind of flying off, and you just kind of see him flying off into the sunset, right?
Flying off into space, isn't he?
Well, he flew off into the sunset, and you just see it as blue. Originally, though, so here's where this starts getting really interesting. Originally, though, he was going to be flying off into space, and Kevin Feige, or Feige, I don't know what it is. But apparently Kevin...
First name basis, yes.
Right, yes. Because we're friends. I was in LA this weekend. I visited him. I stayed at his house. But apparently Kevin went on set and basically was like, listen, you can't show him flying into outer space because there's a whole bunch of rumors already that we're going to do a Planet Hulk movie, and we can't really do that right now. So you need to change it so it just shows him flying off into the sunset like you see blue sky and not the black of outer space. So, of course, they go back in, and Joss Whedon says, okay, whatever, and films it so it looks like he's going just off into the distance. So apparently then they came back and hey, so we actually now he is going into outer space. So yeah, sorry about that. So apparently they've kind of gone back and they've done some sort of I don't know if it's some sort of editing or maybe they're just gonna tie it in, but they're changing it in post-production to basically make it look like now he's flying off into the black of space to make more sense, because in the Planet Hulk comic books, Hulk gets kind of tricked into basically this prison in space, and then Tony Stark launches him out because they're afraid that he's going to go ballistic and destroy the entire Earth or something like that, and they can't control him. Which you kind of saw there was that big kind of prison in the first Avengers movie that Thor gets trapped in, but it was actually designed for the Hulk. So there's like the seeds of that there, but apparently they didn't want to make it look like that because they didn't want to give the rumors that were building on the internet any credence that there was going to be a Planet Hulk movie. And then, of course, then that changed, and now we have Thor Ragnarok, which is kind of also the Planet Hulk movie.
Planet Hulk, yeah. So it's so funny that they filmed it one way, they've to dispel the rumors, and yet they're like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Let's do it.
So it's kind of par for the course, in comic books, they go back and they retcon stuff all the time, and now they have to do it with the movies as well. So there you go.
That's too funny. Well.
Anyway, that was the last thing I had on Rebel Intelligence. You said you were done, right?
I am good. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Every week we have a discussion. Last week we had Ed Placencia on, and
which was a great discussion, by the way, right?
Wasn't it? I love Ed. Such a great guy.
Had a great discussion.
Ed came on. We talked about the Jerry Before Seinfeld Netflix special, and we were talking about comedy and comedians, and we asked our super friends, our listeners, who their favorite comedian is, and maybe like what their favorite either album or special is. And we got some answers, and so let's jump on over to, let's start with Facebook. So over on Facebook, we're going to start with Court Fruget. Fruget.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, Fruget.
Yeah.
Well done.
I mean, the NyQuil's setting in, man. I'm sorry, Court Fruget. Not Fabergé, but Fruget. Says, Brian Regan, Jim Gaffigan, John Panette, Don Friesen, Bill Engvall are always great for a laugh. I created a Pandora station off of Brian, and it pulled in these other guys.
We know how you feel about Brian, Spence. You don't need to get on your rant. Get off the soapbox. I know you're stepping onto it. Take the foot off.
Hey, like I said, no. I'm going to jump back up on it. I'm going to say, if you like Brian Regan, that's fine. Like, I get that. I don't know. I don't like him for reasons because everyone's like, you got to listen to him because he's clean. No one says you got to listen to him because he's funny. Everyone says you got to listen to him because he's clean. That just
What if they said he's clean and funny?
That would be different.
Okay.
That would be different, but that's not what people say. The first thing anyone ever says about Brian Regan is, oh, you got to listen to him. He's really clean. It's like, yeah, so is a can of Ajax, but I'm not going to listen to that crap. Anyway, moving on.
Nice analogy. I actually listened to that over the weekend. It was really...
You listened to a can of Ajax?
Yeah.
It was really clean, though, wasn't it?
Very clean. Very clean.
Yeah,
you should listen.
Very, very clean. Caleb Albers says, I'm a big fan of Chad Daniels and Dan Cummings. Chad's most recent special made me laugh my butt off. I'm sorry you don't have a butt anymore, buddy. That's bad news. Says, but if I had to pick an all-time, if I had to pick a favorite all-time comedian and special, hands down, I'd give the award to Christopher Titus and his special Born with a Defect. His humor is not for everyone. It's very politically centered and is sometimes a hard truth, but is always very funny. One bit that he does that's a good example of his humor is Arm the Children. Along with you guys, I'm also a big fan of his podcast that he does with his wife. I highly recommend him to those people that enjoy humor about family and kids, sometimes divorce and crazy exes, and sometimes jokes about political themes. He's not a comedian for everyone, but he's one of my favorites.
All right.
So
I'm jotting some of these down, so I'm gonna take some notes here.
If you're looking for a comedian that will make you lose your butt, there's some recommendations for you. Okay,
it's probably a very, very popular search, I'm sure.
Comedians that make me laugh my butt off.
That's right.
And Google says, let's go over to the old emails, shall we? Peter Christensen we'll start with.
All right. Hi, Peter.
Peter. You know what? Maybe yes, no. Oh, yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I just can't.
Navigate.
I can't read it today. I'm getting
the NyQuil.
The NyQuil starting
it's
to kick
lazy
in, man.
eye.
I'm feeling it. So I'm gonna read this to you because obviously. Anyway, it says, "Dear nerds, no, Steve, are you ready to do this? Punch it, Chewie." That's how he started off, and then he says, "Chris Kattan also played the head bad guy henchman in Undercover Brother." He says, "Many comedians have successful podcasts. They make money from sponsors, and it helps grow their audiences, which helps them sell tickets as they tour. Netflix is definitely a top buyer of comedy specials. but podcasts are why so many comedians are getting famous enough to get special. I don't know if I have a favorite comedian. I really like Joe Rogan, but I like his podcast and the breadth of topics he covers more than I like his comedy. My favorite comedy albums are Elephant in the Room by Patrice O'Neill and Werewolves and Lollipops by Patton Oswalt. Don't listen to them with kids. Peter. He says, P.S. Mitch Hedberg randomly appeared in the movie Lords of Dogtown, giving the boys polyurethane skateboard wheels.
Oh, I remember that actually. Yes.
And then he follows up with a second email. He says, LOL, I sent the email during the closing credits. Then I heard the post-credits punch it scene. Anyway.
Yeah. We were going to do it again for him right now, I thought.
The funny thing was, like, we did forget to do that at the beginning, and so we recorded it at the end, and it was just kind of goofy, and we were having a good time. And so I decided just to leave it in there as a little bonus after the music. If you stick around all the way through the end of the podcast, it was a little bonus for you. And so I'm glad Peter stuck around and actually saw that and saw that, we're not perfect and we don't do things right, but post-production editing is magic.
We were crazy hopped up on NyQuil, so sorry.
Okay. This one's from Grouchy Surge. He says, a brief history of the Grouch. I was a fat kid in grade school who was a bit eccentric and got picked on a lot. I either grew my hair long or I had a long bleached rat tail that only incited the school bullies even more. So, my options were to change my looks or learn how to get them to shut up. So I turned to jokes. He says, my absolute favorite of all time is Julius Groucho Marx. I fell in love with the Marx Brothers movies because of the quick wit of Groucho and never turned back. I used to watch You Bet Your Life and have a couple of recordings somewhere. I even have most of his books and read them all multiple times. I have a deep love of many comedians, and my ultimate goal is to give stand-up a shot, and I really just expect to be a low-rate Vegas comedian working bars and open mic nights. Some of my favorites are Sam Kinison, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, saw him live 2 weeks before he died, Richard Jenny, Don Rickles, Johnny Carson, Stephen Lynch, etc. Also special mention to John Valby, whom I have seen more than any other performer. Not your classic comedian, but I believe it fits. I can't wait to hear how the rest of your super friends weigh in on this. Thank you, Grouchy.
Awesome. Well, and I can empathize with Grouchy a little bit, man. I remember I was in a similar, kind of scenario when I was younger, and I was like, oh, just
a fat kid with a rat tail.
Well, yeah, but I had curly hair, so it was kind of like curled up on the end. It was like a pig's tail. But no, like just turn to humor, make them laugh, and keep them laughing, and you'll be fine. So,
yeah, disarm with charm, as they say.
Ooh, I like that.
All right, going over to Twitters. Let's start with our first Twitter user,
Ooh.
Josh Stapleton.
No, it's Twit.
Yeah. Josh Stapleton at MTTG Street Team. He says, Mike
Is that a new
Birbiglia.
email? I've never heard that.
It is a new Twitter handle. Him and I actually changed our Twitter handles a little bit ago because
you're running from the law.
That's right. You know now. Now I have to kill you. And it's something funny that happened over with the MTTG crew. And so we changed he's at MTTG Street Team. I'm at Street Team MTTG. So I'll explain to you off the podcast sometime because it'll take like 10 minutes and then it won't be as funny because I've explained it. Maybe at the end when the NyQuil's really hitting me. Anyway, he says, Mike Birbiglia, favorite album is My Girlfriend's Boyfriend. I'm kicking myself for missing him when he came to Salt Lake City a few years ago. I do like Mike Birbiglia, and My Girlfriend's Boyfriend is a very funny album. Trash Turkey says, that's who I was going to say. I love stand-up, but haven't kept up with it. I remember staying up late watching Evening at the Improv as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Grouchy Surge at backlog_blues says, dude, I'm going to need to go long form on this one. Hence the email we just read. So,
and who is this again?
That was Grouchy Surge.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I should have done it the other way so they matched up a little bit better, but I'm not thinking clearly at the moment, so we're going to roll with it.
Punch it,
Robert Darrell Good at After Christ 01 says, my wife, She just got her first gig booked a couple of weekends ago. That is awesome. Like,
wow.
Robert, that is so cool. Let us know how she does, and how that goes and how it went. But that's cool.
Maybe we
to
could
know
put
that
up
his wife's doing it.
Little video up on the Facebook or something like that. Maybe
man.
Self-promotion.
Okay, Robert Daryl Good, if you're listening to this, which I hope you are, if you got a video or something of your wife, share that out, man. We will repost it and share it out for you, man.
Stand-up video.
Yeah, come on now. Of course I meant stand-up video. What did you think I meant? That's so wrong. Here she is clipping her toenails. All right, let's move off that quickly. The geeky nerd at dspin67 says, as a 70s kid, gotta say Richard Pryor, Sumner, Sebastian Maniscalco, Bruce, and D.L. Hewley.
Not know many of those names, but I will check some of them out.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I've got one more on Twitter I want to read to you.
Okay.
This is from our friend Paul Calico at pcalico84. He says, episode number 8, favorite NES game, TMNT, the game, even though I can never beat it. So Paul's going back and listening to our old catalog, and
slow and steady.
And I love that he keeps answering the question of the week. So since he's doing it, I'm going to keep reading them, man.
Was that really Teenage Ninja Turtles 1 or 2? I didn't hear that.
He said TMNT, the game. So I'm going to assume it's the arcade game.
That's the arcade. Yeah, that one is hard to beat, man. I love when you can hit those the street manhole covers, whatever, and have them fly across the screen.
Right? Absolutely.
Sweet.
Guys, thank you so much for your interaction this week. We love talking with you. You can always get to us at on Twitter at Fort of Nerd, or you can reach us by email for that long form answer like Grouchy Search did, which is fortofnerd@gmail.com. Or you can reach us like Caleb Albers did and Court Fruget, which is facebook.com/Fort of Nerd. Man, I really had to think about that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Steve, our super friends are listening. They're hanging out with us. They're interacting with us. How can our current super friends help us find more super friends so we can share the love to more people?
They can rate us on iTunes, so the Fortress of Nerditude isn't as hard to find as Spencer Stapleton in a medicine cabinet.
I love LA.
You've got a problem. That's awesome.
I gotta say, like, as much as I did not like seeing the Dodgers win, at the end of the games when they win, they play "I love LA," and I hear that, I'm like, I do love LA, and I really want to sing this, but I can't sing this right now.
Well, I gotta say too, like, what a cool, like, you know, it goes without saying, but you know, it really makes a big difference when you work for good people or with good people, right? It's just,
yeah,
you know, I've been in crappy work environments before, and this is one where it's like, you know, I feel very blessed for the people that I work with. I work with some really great people, and it sounds like you do too. So that's
I absolutely do. Steve, we didn't get to talk about this last week when Ed was on because it literally just happened like 10 minutes before we started recording. We didn't have time to really get prepped for it. But the new Star Wars Last Jedi trailer, like the full trailer, released 10 minutes before we recorded last week.
Yes,
and
it did.
I want to talk about that, but also this has been another big week because there was the trailer for the Black Panther movie and the big trailer for Stranger Things Season 2.
You know it.
So, what do you want to talk about?
Let's save the best for first. No, let's talk about Star Wars. Yeah, let's talk about Star Wars first. We'll go there.
Okay, so that is the oldest trailer. What are your first thoughts when you watched this trailer?
I felt like it was it was kind of like a little bit darker than the palette I think that we have seen most recently. I think, you know, The Force Awakens still had kind of J.J. Abrams kind of, you know, Spielberg-esque warmth, and this was really more a little bit more gritty, a little bit more dark. There's some things that I think leave some questions unanswered, and some of the questions from our first review of the initial trailer make me wonder if some of these scenes are not from dreams or visions or whatnot. Anyway, I thought it was good. There's a lot to be taken in, and I just think there's still a lot of questions to be answered.
Do you remember in the original trilogy, the only true trilogy, the one and only trilogy, Star Wars, the first movie, like had its dark moments, but like it ended on a positive, kind of upbeat, note. Yep. Empire was definitely on a downbeat note. A lot of bad things happened, but a lot of great character development. One of my favorite movies, and then Return ended on a really kind of upbeat note.
Wasn't it a party with the Ewoks? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Da 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 da. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, it works. I felt like this trailer though really was trying to capture like the feeling of Empire, where it was like things are it's kind of like we're letting you know that things aren't going to go as well. Things are going to be more intense. Things, because that whole trailer to me was just like intense. Like I felt like there was tension there, and they're trying to really set the stage. I don't know. Like, so it's called The Last Jedi, and we know who The Last Jedi is. It's been confirmed. It was even confirmed in the crawl of Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Luke Skywalker is the last Jedi. So, here's my question to you. We know that. Did you get the feeling when you watched this that they're trying to make it look like Rey is going to join the dark side?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Because it looks
when
like
she's like, I'm trying to find my place here, and then suddenly Kylo Ren reaches out a hand. I'm like, what the freak?
Right. I definitely think that's good editing. I don't think that's what's going on.
No. Because then right after that, she has a scene where she like falls to the ground. It looks like she's just come out of the cave, which is on the island, which is where she's training with Luke. That's what I meant when I said it. I believe that was kind of a vision or something like that.
A red herring to try to throw us off.
A smoking gun.
Do they really use guns? No, they use blasters, Steve. Come on, man.
A smoking blaster, yeah. Right.
There you go. So do you remember when we originally talked about the first trailer, how you thought that it looked like Yoda was on those rocks?
Yes.
We got a much closer view of those rocks. Do you still hold on to the idea that Yoda is on those rocks somehow?
I didn't even think to look when I watched it. What did you see? Did I miss something?
It just looks like rocks to me, but you do kind of see, and it looks like there's a little knob of a rock on the top. It was one of those things because you brought that up when we originally talked about it, and I didn't think it was there. But then, of course, I do what every good internet user does. I went to see what other people on the internet thought, and there was a lot of people that thought like you, that thought, hey, maybe that looks like the outline of Yoda, da-da-da-da-da. And
dun, dun.
There were some close-up shots, and I went, I just think it's a rock outcropping. Maybe people are putting a little too much into what they're perceiving that they saw.
Look, man, I see what I want to see. Yeah. What did you think of what was I going to ask you? The fight between, it's not Poe.
Finn.
Yeah, Finn and Phasma.
I don't know.
His old boss.
Right? You made me work more than 40 hours that week. You
didn't take me to the Dodgers game.
Right, exactly. Chuck took Spencer. Why couldn't you take me? I don't know. And part of the problem for me is I felt like Phasma was built up in the social media prior to Episode 7, The Force Awakens, and she was all over everything. And then she's barely in the movie, and she gets tossed down into a trash compactor, and it was just like, it was over. It was quick. And it's like, it didn't feel like there was any real gravitas to that character. Like, this is someone we should really be afraid of. And then to see like Finn like looks like he's fighting for his life against her, I'm like, I mean, didn't you just like pretty much like, manhandle Captain Phasma and just smack her around a little bit and then dump her off screen? Like, why is this so like, why am I supposed to believe this is a big deal now? Now, maybe they'll find a way to get there. But that was just kind of my thought. I was like, what do I really care? Let me ask you this question, because I think this is a lot of people have been talking about. You know the little scene where they got the Millennium Falcon going through, and you hear Chewbacca roar, and then you see that little porg. They're called porgs, P-O-R-G. That little porg kind of like do its little like
try to mimic.
What do you think of that?
I think that is Star Wars version of like one of those hula dancers you put on your dashboard. That's all.
You think this character, because this is a race of characters, they're going to have probably more than one. Do you think this is the Jar Jar Binks of this movie? Or do you think it's going to be more like the Ewoks, like lovable and cute, but kind of unneeded, but not like Jar Jar Binks craziness?
That's a good question. I would hope that it would be the latter, but that's a good question. I don't know. Now, who else was in the Millennium Falcon during that scene, or do you see anybody else?
They don't show you who the pilot is, and I think that was an intentional edit.
Right.
Now, I'm going to make the assumption it's Rey, because we kind of see Rey flying off with the Millennium Falcon at the end of Star Wars Episode 7.
Yeah, I think this is going to be more like a Groot type character that going to be like a sidekick maybe that will kind of add some cute lovability to almost like a comic relief, more like a I don't know, little human-y kind of warm fuzzy little something.
Porg.
Yeah, that's what I would name it, a porg. Yes,
a porg.
Good call.
Yeah,
where'd you come up with that?
Good job. So here's something else I thought about. As I was watching this, I feel like they're definitely going to explore more of the background of Rey's parents, but I think we're also going to get a lot more background of like what happened between Luke trying to train Ben, who then became Kylo Ren. Like I feel like that storyline is destined to come up a whole lot more, because it seems like Luke is hesitant or maybe reticent of training someone else, especially after his last failure.
Well, and don't we see in this film, with a bit more detail, the scene when Kylo Ren kind of turns against Luke and then proceeds to destroy the Jedi school? I mean isn't that what when Luke like kneels next to R2-D2 and there's flames and whatnot? I think that's what I took that as.
That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I thought was harrowing is the scene between Kylo Ren and Leia, when there's a voiceover and it talks about destroying the past, and you see this look in her eye.
He's targeting his mom's ship.
Right.
He's killed his dad. Spoilers. Killed his dad, and now he's gonna have to kill his mom.
That was heavy. That was a heavy scene.
Let me ask you this, Steve: if a decrepit, beat up old Sith Jedi or old Sith Master asks you to kill your mom and your dad, would you do it?
Well, I think my first question really would be like, where's my allowance coming from? If they're gone, you gonna pay it, Sid? Where's the flow coming from? The Quan. It depends.
If I'm getting my allowance or not. Awesome.
So anyway, I thought it was an intense trailer. Would love to hear what our super friends think about it. I thought it was it's good. Obviously, I am just a little bit less excited about. No, I would say they're on the same level as Stranger Things for that to come out. I'm totally stoked for this movie, and it's of course everybody wants to know what is going to be what is the one line that I think still befuddles us from the first trailer, which was, of course, it's time for the Jedi to end, said by Luke Skywalker. So
what does that mean? What does it mean?
Is he disillusioned? Is he grown old and bitter? Does he want to retire to Turks and Caicos take some time off.
He's going to retire to the. He's going to retire to the Dune Sea because that's where all Jedis go to retire.
That's right, exactly. Hang out with some sand people.
Right.
Oh, did I tell you, by the way? Going back to how our week was, I actually went to Dave & Buster's, which is a huge video game place out here. My son had a birthday party that he went to. It wasn't his, but he went to. And they have, they handed out cards like Kit Kats and Tic Tacs, and they were all playing games and whatnot. But the cards only debit credit when you use it to play a ticket game, like a coin game, that gets you tickets. All the video games are free. And so Carter was playing all these other games, so he'd come by like every once in a while and jam this card like 3 or 4 times in any game I was playing. And so I got into this Star Wars like pod game where it was like this enclosed thing where you had to like open a door and get in. I played that thing for like 45 minutes. There's like a line of kids like, Mister, are you done? I'm like, hey, back off! I'm making the trench run on the Death Star. Second time, kid. Anyway, so I texted you a picture. So if you want to throw that up on Facebook for this week, but that's me blowing up the Death Star.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I actually thought of something this last week. I was thinking about Star Wars stuff, and I was thinking about going to Comic-Con, and I was like, you know what we should do? We should, if we ever can, make sure, because we want to go to San Diego Comic-Con, we should dress up like the Sand People, like the Tusken Raiders, and then and then everywhere we go, we just like follow the other person like directly behind them, because the Sand People walk in single file to hide their numbers.
That's right.
I don't know why, but yeah. Anyway.
They scare easily, but they'll be back. Yes.
I'm super excited. I can't wait for this movie to come out. I'm going to get tickets. I'm going to go the day of. I'm probably going to go the same weekend again. It can't come fast enough for me. But
amen to that.
Let's move on, because there were some other trailers that dropped this week. And let's save the best. But let's save the one I know you really want to talk about for the last. So let's talk about that Black Panther trailer. What did you think of that?
I thought it was actually better than I thought it was going to be.
Right?
I mean, I was actually kind of impressed. So, it was action packed. You get a sense that there is, that he's kind of taking his place as king. It's almost kind of like a Lion King superhero movie.
I knew you'd do that.
Even with the NyQuil, Spencer.
Oh, I just can't wait to be king. Everybody look left. Everybody look right. Everywhere stand
out. Look, standing spotlight.
Not yet. Anyway.
Rowan Atkinson, nice. Oh,
that's gonna be a bear to edit together. Just so you know.
We can re-record that.
Yeah.
No, so I thought it was good. I mean, I don't have much to say about it. Just that it was a lot of action. The bad guys, whoever they are in the film, seem to have these kind of really cool. There's a scene where this one guy hangs out of a car in this chase scene. He shoots this car. It does kind of this like stop motion type thing that then throws, Black Panther up into the. He runs along a building, which is kind of cool. So it's not a character that I know a lot about, but it's kind of cool to, I read a little article about the trailer after watching it, and it's like his people, the Wakanda, I believe they're called, Wakanda. They have basically been, kind of watching everything that we've seen, all of the movies that have encompassed the cinematic universe. They've just kind of been watching from afar, like watching, aliens and insane robots and, gods try to destroy our world, and just kind of like, they're perfectly fine keeping it themselves, just chilling. And, so it was kind of interesting to get that perspective of, and then rewatch the trailer.
When I watched the trailer, I was like, man, these Wakandans are like living in the future, because they've got like all this like, almost like invisibility technology, and like all their ships are like hover stuff, and it was just like way, way, way freaking cool. I'm with you. I haven't seen, we saw the Black Panther in the Civil War movie, but like it's not a character I ever really read or followed much. But he was a cool character in Civil War, and so I was like, okay, I'm like I could get down with a Black Panther movie, and they're doing this thing, and it looks really, really good. I I don't know if it's going to be probably like their best movie that's going to come out, but I'm hoping that it surprises me like Ant-Man did. Because I say this to people and I use that example because Ant-Man wasn't a comic that I read. I knew very little about it, but then I went and the movie just like knocked it out of the park for me. I really enjoyed the experience, and I'm hoping the Black Panther is going to do the same thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just say this, DC has done Wonder Woman and obviously really appealed to women. I know there's a woman at church that like wears, she and her friend have these matching like Wonder Woman necklaces with these medallions. And she's like, that's our movie,
Wonder Woman!
Yeah. And obviously this appeals to, could appeal more to African Americans. I mean, it has a lot of that kind of urban vibe to it. It's got, the music, the soundtrack obviously has that as well. I don't think that's why they're doing it. I don't think that's why they're, now coming out with it.
No, not at all.
These people. But it's cool to see, just like it's cool to see, a main character as a woman in Wonder Woman. It's great to see, a movie like Black Panther come out. So I was really impressed with the trailer.
I know what you're trying to say, like you're excited that they're branching out and doing more diverse characters, because it is true. Like a lot of the main stable characters are like white men.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of how it's been. And so it's cool to see like Wonder Woman and like Black Panther. They're going to do Captain Marvel, which is a woman, Carol Danvers. Like that's coming down the road. It's like we're going to get another like, woman centric character that's going to be incorporated into the MCU. And so I'm glad they're doing this. And like I said with Ant-Man, they can take stuff that's not as well-known properties and they can make gold out of it and, just turn it into box office dollars. So
it's like found money.
Right?
Yep. So that's cool. The last trailer that we wanted to talk about was the newest trailer for Stranger Things. Oh, just the music alone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So guys, we are less than 15 days away.
No, we're less than that.
Yeah, we're
10 days away.
10 days away!
I looked at it, Steve. I will be in Illinois with you when it comes out.
Well, I hope you don't start puking and peeing out your rear because we're going to spend all night watching it. we got to rewatch the first season, so we got to get up to speed.
Yep.
But no. So Stranger Things dropped. It looks awesome. I don't know.
Are you gonna rewatch the first season as kind of like a catch up before the new one?
I'd like to. I'd like to say that I'd like to, but I don't know if I'll find the time, honestly. So it'd be great. What's cool about this though is I didn't realize how many other actors are in this. So I saw Sean Astin, which I think we talked about before, and then what is his name? Paul Reiser. I thought I saw like Paul Reiser as a doctor in this as well. I was like, that's kind of cool. They're bringing some other names in. I saw a few other names or faces that I recognized but didn't know the names of. So it's
so I watched the trailer and you know what I saw? There's so much freaking action in that trailer. Like, just everyone's like getting guns and like,
everybody's handing out guns like to kids.
It's like handing guns to kids and like they're getting suited up and like the one guy like ties that bandana around his head. It looked like a scene from Karate Kid
or Rocky or I mean Rambo.
Rambo. But then there was the scene where the one kid's like, he says, hey, Steve, you still got that bat with the nails through it? And he like opens up the trunk. It's right there. And he's like, okay. It's like, but like, I get that.
No. He says, what bat? He's like, the one with the nails in it.
Yeah. So what I wonder is like, is this all like stuff they're taking from like the last episode or two? Because I'm hoping that they're going to do like they did in the first season where like they kind of slow build it. And then at the very end, it's like everything's going nuts. But that trailer made it seem like everything's going nuts all the time, start to finish.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah. So I mean, gosh, it looks so good. What did you think about 11 looking like Ellen Ripley from Alien?
True that. She looks like a woman on a mission. There's the first part that we see though, which I was a little confused about. She's in the woods. She sees this box, opens the box. There's a thing of Tupperware. I don't know if you noticed this. a thing of Tupperware with some Eggos on top.
Yeah.
And the Tupperware is like the quintessential like 80s Tupperware that every mother
It's
in
got those
America
ridges
had.
on it.
Yeah, because their friends sold it to them at some Tupperware party. I'm like, we had that exact same Tupperware.
Right.
Which I love that about this product. But I didn't know. It seemed like they were still. I think the main character mentions that he still is missing 11. So is she still in the Upside Down? Are they leaving things for her? Because it seems like she comes back in the end when she looks like Ripley when she comes back. Has she come back from the Upside Down? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think she comes through. I think she comes back through at some point, but I think she's going to come back through only when like it looks darkest for them. Because I think she's going to be, especially because we saw at the end of the first season, like she's kind of supernatural and has these kind of crazy powers. And if they brought her back too early, it'd be like, okay, well, just do your thing, 11, save us all. Yeah. But I think they're gonna have to slow build it, and she's gonna make an appearance with the rest of them and join them near the very end. That's my guess.
I think what was cool as well that I really liked about it was that it seemed like they were gathering other friends. They had there's some red-haired girl, and there were some other friends when they were rolling those barrels.
Barb too.
Barb had a daughter no one knew about? A love child with Steve?
This is the same age that Barb was? How does that work?
A little younger, a few years.
Yeah.
So anyway, of course, looks great. And what do you think of their choice to show the aliens so much? I mean, they show it probably half a dozen times in this trailer.
Yeah, because we didn't see the Demigorgon like at all in the first until like late, and this one we're seeing this big, multi-tentacled thing. I don't know, man. Like it's kind of like, well, there's not going to be a lot of suspense build up to that, but maybe they're thinking that they don't have to build the suspense of seeing what the alien or this being looks like, because it's going to be more the suspense of what's going to go on and what's going to happen and the character development. And so they just know they don't have to do that this time around. I don't know. Now, I will tell you that I like the fact that all the kids from the first one are back for this one, and they don't look like they've aged a ton. Because how like in a movie where like you'll have a kid and then you do a sequel, but they actually film that sequel like 4 years after the first movie comes out, and they look like they've aged a ton. I think with this one, because it's Netflix and they can do a quicker turnaround time, it's only been maybe like a year since the last one came out, so they don't look crazy old.
Right. They've aged naturally. It's like the old 24 thing where, Kiefer Sutherland had to wear the same shirt for an entire season.
Right.
Make sure it looks progressively dirty now.
Right. No, too clean. Go back, change it.
Exactly.
Dirty.
Who's starting to shave, kids? You better stop that.
Right. Will Byers, you stop shaving. You're not allowed. But I had a fresh face in the first one. I don't know, Steve. So gosh, like I said, I'm super excited about this. I think everyone who's anyone probably saw the first one. If you guys haven't, go watch Stranger Things, because Stranger Things season 2 is going to come out and you're not going to want to miss it. Now,
and this is going to be like Lost around the water cooler. We talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago. This is going to be like Lost. People are going to be talking about it. Don't be left behind. Don't be that guy that's like, I don't know. And then you're going to be left behind 2 seasons and you're going to be like, I don't ever want to get into it.
I'll just wait until it's all out and then I'll watch it all at one time and then talk to no one.
Don't be that guy. Yeah. That's called a hermit. Living with sand people.
To hide their numbers. So Steve, let me ask you, out of the 3 trailers, the 3 big trailers, because there was some other smaller stuff, the Star Wars, the Black Panther, or the Stranger Things, what are you most excited to see?
Let me answer it a different way.
No.
Which trailer?
No, answer my question. Don't deflect.
What do you think? No.
Charm and disarm. Charm and disarm.
I'm most excited to see Stranger Things. I think just because I love the season, and it's not a wham bam thank you. It's going to have some legs to it where I'm excited to jump back in, but also let kind of a slow burn. I'm also excited because Halloween's right around the corner, and and it's just kind of the season's already here. It's cold, it's cooling down, a little sweater weather, chilly weather, I like to call it. Leaves are falling, so it's almost kind of like it's I'm ready for it.
Yeah. I get that.
That being said, I actually think that the Star Wars trailer was better. I think that the Stranger Things was just chock full of a lot of action, but it didn't tell a story for me. Whereas, it just made me really excited. But the Star Wars, it left a lot of things unanswered. It was intense in the right parts. It made me kind of question in certain parts. So I'm excited to get some answers. I want answers. You can't handle the truth. I don't know.
I'm kind of like you. Like I'm really excited for Stranger Things only because it's going to come sooner. But I think Star Wars is the big one for me. I mean, I just want that so bad. But I do think that there's a lot of good things that are happening right now, and the trailers. I said this before, but I really feel like the people that are doing trailers now, I think, have figured out a method to tap into to like try to get people super excited for movies and like hit some of the best parts and use music that maybe isn't in the movie but like helps tie the trailer together. I mean, they did it with Suicide Squad, and I went and saw it, and they ended up going and rewriting the movie based off a trailer. So I think there's something to be said for whoever's doing that. Mr. Trailer, I salute you. I applaud your efforts. But
yeah, I would say like mad props to the guys who do this, because they take a 2-hour movie or an 8 or 9 episode season and cut it down into some semblance of a story and make it intense, the right parts, and craft a 2-minute condensed. It's a skill, definitely an art.
So let's ask our super friends this: out of those 3 trailers, which trailer are you most excited for? Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Black Panther, or Stranger Things Season 2? And you can let us know at the usual places over on Twitter, which is at Fort of Nerd. You can do it through long form Gmail, which is fortofnerd@gmail.com, or you can let us know at Facebook, facebook.com/fortofnerd. And tell us, which one are you excited for and why? Like which of those 3 are you most excited for? And we will read them next week. Steve, we've got a movie club coming up here in a little while. Obviously, last week was Jerry Before Seinfeld, but I'm thinking the next one's going to be coming out sometime mid-November-ish, and Thor Ragnarok is coming out like mid-November. I think we should do Thor Ragnarok as our movie club for next month. What do you think?
So let it be written, so let it be done.
Nice. So let's plan on that. We will get into that next month. The other thing is, we're episode 47 today. We are getting very close to that 52nd episode, which will mark 1 year of the Fortress of Nerditude being in existence. So we need to start making some plans for that, right?
Yeah, we need to. You should. I got it. You should come out to Chicago,
and we can record it live. Except
live in New York. It's Chicago. No.
Except I think we're going to be recording. I think we're going to be recording 49 live in Chicago. It doesn't have the same ring as like the 1 year anniversary. Or maybe we could record something that we can actually then play at our 1 year anniversary.
That would be cool.
We'll figure it out. Listen, okay, I'm going to toss this out to our listeners, our super friends as well. Second question. This is a 2-question week now. What would you like us to do?
A lot of homework.
Yes. What would you like us to do for our 1 year anniversary? Within reason, because
legal.
There's some legality. I mean, I'm not going to do that dance that I did once upon a time again.
Oh, from Comic-Con. Yeah, you should do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it was
like Goonies and the Truffle Shuffle.
That's exactly what it felt like. And when video surfaces of that, I'll get it out there. But
do you feel dirty after you're done? You're like,
I was like, I was prostituting myself for podcast attention. Oh, what have I become?
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Well, two great questions, and we look forward to your responses. And again, as always, we love to hear your responses. I've taken notes. I've got a laundry list of comedians I've got to listen to. I took notes last week when we were talking about cell phones and kiddos, and so we really do appreciate the responses. So keep them coming, and let's keep this train rolling till beyond Thunderdome.
Wonder Woman! All right. Well, from all of us at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, take care of yourselves and each other.
May the Force be with you always.